Welcome to MMT Chats. This episode is brought to you by ISCAR with new ideas for machining intelligently. Hey MMT followers, Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology back for another quick MMT chat. And my guest today is Professor Steffen Ritter from Reutlingen University, and he is the developer of a new mold maker card game to help promote and educate our next generation of mold making professionals. So hello, Professor, how are you?
Thank you. Quite good, actually. It's the end of the day here in Germany.
That's right, you're done. That's right, you're done.
So I'm almost done for today.
Good for you. Exactly. All right. So before we get into this, why don't you first give our viewers a little background on who you are, where you are, and your current position?
Yeah, my name is Steffen Ritter. I'm a mechanical engineer. I studied mechanical engineering at the University of Stuttgart and then went into the plastics business. I did my PhD at the Institute of Plastic Science, and then I went in industry, on one side in absolute mass production. It was diaper production where millions of products are produced each and every day. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Adult diapers, actually. Yeah.
Oh.
So super, actually from a technical point of view, super interesting and super useful. After that, I launched an own company, a startup company, and then for most of my professional career, I was in automotive business, managing a development department for an international automotive supplier, mainly focused on plastic parts, actually, yeah. And the substitution of metal parts with plastics, yeah, because of weight reduction, cost reduction, and so on. We all know these things, yeah.
Yep.
And then already 10 years ago, I joined Reutlingen University. We say I became call, actually, yeah, and so we get the offer to get a teaching position there. And since then I'm there, and I developed a lab. I'm very focused on practical aspects of learning, on didactical issues. And yeah, that's what I do since already 10 years now at Reutlingen University. Yeah.
That's a lot of experience. And I do like your focus on the tactical hands-on, which is a lot about what this is, because that's what's missing right now. That's what's missing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I found out about this card game from Ralph over at VDWF. I mean, he is one enthusiastic advocate for the mold making industry. I love him. But what is your relationship with VDWF?
I'm a member at the VDWF, so schools and science organizations can be members of the VDWF, the German Mold Maker Association, if you translate it, kind of, yeah. And that's the base of my network, because I'm doing a lot of practical stuff, yeah. I relate also to a network. I can't do everything on my own at school. Yeah, I want to have these practical aspects, and especially when it comes to designing of plastic parts. The mold itself, where the plastic part is initially created, plays a super important role, and therefore even the part designers need to know about mold making, because they need to communicate on an eye level with mold makers. And so,
I agree.
So this connection
it's connected.
is absolutely very important. I always say it's one of the most important connections for these designers who are designing plastic parts, and therefore I have this strong relationship to the Mold Maker Association, and I created several kind of crazy and wonderful projects together with them.
Okay, all right. So this is one of several that you've done. Okay, so this is
Exactly.
not new for you. Okay, like, all right. So let's talk about this first. So what was the motivation behind creating a card game to teach mold designs and molding?
If you look into didactics, every once in a while you stumble over this name expression, gamification. And I was inspired by this thing. Yeah, gamification is in our computers and here and there. What is gamification? Yeah, and so I went into that from a teaching point of view, also to make parts, little segments of the units, the learning units, the teaching learning units more interesting, yeah, and more attractive. And at a certain point, I said, hey, what about if we create a real game? It's not game-based, it's not some elements, it's a real game. And because I worked for so many years now on these issues of mold making, I thought this is a superb issue and a superb topic, because the elements, the base elements of a mold need to be known. Need to be known right from the beginning. If you start your apprenticeship or something like this, you need to express yourself, you need to communicate, so you need to know these elements and how a mold is built up. And to be honest, a mold from the outside, this is a boring piece of metal. Yeah,
exactly.
A mold from the inside, hey, this is
a work of art.
A fascinating technical world, and so this is what drove me there, and so together with one of my students, of my graduate class students, I went into that, and we did kind of intensive research on games, looked at different games, and then started building this game step by step.
Wow. How did you come up with, I mean, developing a game at all? I can imagine the process, the creative process in that, but then you're throwing in a very technical field into this. But how did you like narrow down the main mold design types? Like, take me through that process a little bit, how you came up with what you actually came up with.
There is a teaching world I created called School Tool, and this teaching world is based on very small molds. Actually, this here, I'm kind of one of the only persons in the world coming with a mold, with a tool into the lectures. Yeah.
Wow.
And this is here the little case. Yeah. This is my handbag. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's still heavy. It's still 16 kilograms, something like that. So you have to pretend being very, very strong, but nevertheless. And so this is the most simple mold type, a regular standard mold, and I'm able to explain the basics. And this is where it started, and of course, what's necessary. This is actually the to protect the table. Yeah, it's a mouse pad actually. Yeah. And the elements are described here, and the name of the elements. And all of a sudden, a boring piece of metal looks very interesting if you check it out on the inside. Yeah. And so we created this little teaching material. It's cold.
It's stuck.
It's a high precision mold. And actually, therefore, now I got it. Yeah? And it has a plain side over here. It has two. You can see the sliders.
Yep,
yeah,
I see them.
It's full production mold. Yeah, it's just small.
It's just small.
And we created a lot of teaching material out of those projects.
Okay.
And so I had this whole bunch of very wonderful visualizations. And this was the input for the card game to say, okay, let's use these visualizations. Yeah. And then we had this idea, hey, how can we combine, let's say, 6, 7, or 8 cards? And then I said, hey, 8 cards, this is the build-up of a mold. Yeah. There is a base plate, there is the sprue, and so on. Yeah.
Yep.
I said, that might be following the idea of other card games with the streets, yeah, 8, 9, 10, and so
Yep.
on. Yeah. We created these the initial intention, and we did a lot of tryouts actually with different sets. We came up here. We created prototypes.
Okay.
You can purchase these plain cards in at Amazon or something like that. Yeah.
Of course.
And then we started just drawing those cards by hand and tried it out. Yeah, is it fun? Is it boring? Is it good? Is it bad? And so we ended up in several iterative routes actually. Improved it, and the output is the game.
All right, from idea to producing these to give out to people, how long are we talking?
It's a process of more than half a year, but not, of course, full time. The overall time we spent, the students and I spent, was approximately 450 hours, something like that. It looks on one side, it looks simple, but everything which looks very simple when it's done, most of the time, a lot of work need to be invested there. Yeah.
I am sure. I mean, all right, what do you think from everybody that was involved, not including you, what was their biggest lesson going through that creative process for this? Because not only are they learning how to develop a game, like a consumer product, basically, right? They are learning about mold making as they're going too. I mean, that was such an interesting project. Do you know what like a main lesson that was learned by a student that was part of this process?
I mean, that student was, of course, very focused. But the learning outcomes are the same learning outcomes like a player would have now, and the two, 3 learning outcomes is you get adapted to parts of molds. Yeah, you discover that different types of plastic part need different types of molds actually. Yeah. The molds are built up in different ways. You learn about the names, and you learn about the names in English and German, or in German and in English at the same time. We are an international community, so we need to communicate. Yeah, so they learn this by the way, and at the very end there are also some random cards, we call them activity cards, and they bring things into the game which are quite normal, where it says, hey, there is a spindle broken, just wait for 1 round before.
They must have been fun to come up with, all the things that happen, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Or cards like, hey, you're a member of the VDWF, you refer to a very good network, you belong to a very good network, another
pick a card,
help you out, yeah, or things like that. Yeah, that was fun, yeah, but that is reality, yeah.
It is, and exactly. So my husband and I took the deck when I got them, and we just played it between ourselves. It was fun. It was easy to pick up and learn the actual. It's a typical. The rhythm of the game is very familiar, so that makes it easy for people to pick it up. Yep. And then as we're going along, we are learning about what goes with what. So, and it was funny to pick the cards where the mistakes happen, the good things and the bad things that occur. So I thought it was great for someone like me, an editor that covers mold making, and my husband playing a game. I think anybody could play it and learn. So in terms of ease of use, it's a great job for a card game.
Most of the stuff was done in the very early phases of the lockdown, and actually, so we were not able to test it with too many of our students or of my students' colleagues, actually. So his family mainly was the test team, and grandma and mother were involved deeply into mold making and how molds, injection molds are built.
That's great.
And at the end, they knew how the plates are named and so on.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, if your mom knows it now, and if she can handle that, everybody can handle this, because she came from she never had touched this field. Yeah. So that was kind of very interesting and very
refreshing. It is very
interesting for us. Yeah.
And that makes it good to even go into high schools, like lower grade schooling, because what you just said is proving that anybody can learn something from this. It's not just for the people that are already in the field, right? It helps everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're an expert, you can play it, and it's card game play fun. That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
I think you always have to think, you never, okay, let's arrange the cards and so on. It's never boring, even for me. I'm the creator, and no, you need to be concentrated. You need to look around, and I need this card, and I need to avoid that the other finishes first. So I try to figure out, hey, what kind of cards does they collect, the other players, and so on. It's interesting.
It is, and there's speed involved in there, right? So mold making is all about lead time. So you even have that pressure of picking the right cards and getting it together the correct way as fast as you can. So yeah, it was a great idea. So speaking of card play, I am going to be bringing this to those watching, a bunch of these out to our Plastics Technology Expo in Rosemont, Illinois, March 29th through the 31st. And in the Mold Making Technology booth, we're going to be having, I think it's going to be 2 to 3 o'clock every day of the show. It's a 3-day show. We're going to be having some card play. So look for some information coming out about that in the next few months, because I'm going to be inviting people to come play. I think I'm going to be sending a few of these out so I can do a little testing and prepare some people ahead of hand to get familiar with it, so we can kind of hit the ground running at the show. But I think that's going to be a great marketing tool.
Wonderful idea.
It is,
wonderful
right?
idea.
If people want to get their hands on these, how do they do that?
I created it together with Stuttgart Trade Show, the Molding Expo, the Molding Expo team, who kind of funded this, and actually the VDWF. And via the VDWF, there is a landing page, a shop page at the VDWF, and there you can order those games. Yeah, and it's not intended to make money. It's just kind of to cover the cost of shipment and so on.
I love it. So I'll provide those links to those organizations, and I also know on that page there's a link to a video you did to actually, which was very good, by the way, of instructions. You did the video tutorial on how to play. So that will help people also. So I'll make sure I provide those links.
And the video tutorial is in English and in German. So there are 2 videos, and one is in English. And I hope I can make it understandable enough that you're able to play it.
You did. I watched it. If I was able to understand it, I'm sure everybody can. All right. So what other projects are you working on that are similar to this in terms of being creative with helping to promote mold making education?
At the very end, it's not about mold making itself. Okay. Yeah, it is about plastic as part, and how about plastics are plastic parts are created. So School Tool plays an important role. It's kind of the overall framework I'm working on. So far, we created in theory about 20 School Tool molds.
Okay.
So the one here is the most simple one. It is called School Tool 1, and then it starts standard mold, a slider mold, ejector plate mold, and so on. And it's always the same size, but different technology, and it ends up sensor integration into molds. It ends up hot runner molds. It ends up sliding core molds.
Wow.
So it ends up at kind of a very high level.
Okay.
So far, we created 4 of those molds are really existing and can be carried with this red suitcase with me, with my handbag actually, yeah, into the lessons, and students can really see how it's built, and we can discuss with the mold, hey, why does it need to be so exact, so accurate, and so on, yeah, because you don't see it right away. So this is a challenging thing, and to start, I want everybody to have such a mold. I don't want to sell molds. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I want to inspire companies which are doing this with their apprentices to start right from the beginning to create a mold. Yeah, to make them also proud about mold making. Yeah.
Yep.
And we created our latest idea is MoldMaker HC, a school tool HC, and HC stands for handcrafted. So one of the things might be, one of the excuses might be, oh no, we don't have these machines in our shop. We can't create or spend so much money on these student tools or something like this. And so I built, together with an experienced mold maker and one of my students, a mold by myself. Yeah, I went into a shop, and we, with 55 years old machines, hand machines, mainly hand machines, just a digital dial, we created our own mold. It's the same size.
Wow.
And the outcome is this also, once again, play something to play with. Yeah. Here, this little game, and actually the intention is to recycle plastic caps and to make toys out of plastic caps as part of a change which need to be done in plastics industry.
Yep.
Kind of a base idea, but the whole process and the whole thing will be accompanied with a documentation. It's a 250-page documentation, and it's a step-by-step documentation. So each and every single step for this mold making of the school tool HC, yeah, is described in a little sequence, in a little description.
Wow.
And so somebody who is leading the apprentices or something like that, he or she can rely on this material and work with this material, and within 3 to 4 weeks they have their very first mold right from the beginning, right at the beginning of an apprenticeship.
Wow.
We know it starts with drilling, with milling. Yeah, there are more simple parts of such a mold, like interim plate or something like that.
Yeah.
Then it starts getting more complex. Yeah.
Wow, I like how you set out to prove that you don't have to have top of the line equipment and all the time in the world to take this on, right? And you have to do that. You have to be part of this solution and get this done. So that's great that you proved that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you see this method as being somewhat the future of what education and training is going to have to be in the plastics and mold making in Germany and throughout the world in the future, if not now?
I think we need to be very, very careful. At the moment, the young people seem to take it for granted that those products which are surrounding us nowadays, that they exist. They take it for granted. And the interest in engineering topics is going down and down over the past years. It has to do with all these environmental discussions. It has to do with the discussion about plastics in the ocean and so on. So we all need to work on that to keep our wonderful and quite complex matter being interesting for young people, that they are inspired to join this field, because I'm absolutely sure that mold making, for example, is a key industry. It's quite small, but it's a key industry. And if we lose this industry in countries, we're not able to produce plastic products anymore, because who should repair the molds if we don't have any mold makers? And so we need to be careful as parents. We need to be careful in school, in kindergarten it starts. We at the universities are I usually say we're at the end of the food chain. The next step is the job. It is already too late. I can do my best, but I can't catch up what was lost in the early stages.
You're right.
And so we all need to be careful and try to keep young people interested in technology, and therefore it needs to be visualized in a good way. It needs to be hands-on technology, which you can touch, and I try to play my role in this thing, but I'm not getting tired of saying, hey, we all need to bring our input into that thing to make these jobs and our wonderful field interesting enough to inspire young people to study this or to go into these fields.
Exactly. I mean, I agree. If we don't, life as we all know it, no matter where you live, will change, because you're right. These things don't just appear out of nowhere. No one's just pushing a button and a bottle is appearing, or a ventilator that was needed, or respirators that were needed, the past 18 months. So yeah, people need to understand that. I agree. This is a different way that someone's approaching trying to attract the attention of people that are younger, people that are in it and might not even be in it. I just think it's a great tool. So with that in mind, to kind of wrap this up, who do you see, or how would you describe the future, the mold builder of the future? Like, who will that person be? What skills do they have to have? What do you see them having to know, and what they'll be doing in the future? Because it's changing.
Yeah, it is changing, and this is sometimes part of the problem, that the old mold maker generation tend to educate the young people like they were taught when they were young. And so that need to be changed, and that need to be overcome, that it gets more modern, more refreshing, more interesting. And I see mold makers here in Germany which are really interested in getting young people. They are successful, but they invest a lot of things. It's not everybody's talking about when we had the Molding Expo online thing this year. Education is very important. Education is very important. Education is very important. And if I'm looking for supporters at the very end, Nothing, 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 nothing. Everybody tells us, yes, education is very important. Are you willing to spend some money, at the very end, and some time and some money on it? Oh, let's see. But it's very important. Yeah, keep on doing this. Yeah, and so we have to stay active all together. Industry, plastics industry, mold makers. Universities, schools,
families, communities,
families, the fathers or the moms showing the children how to fix a broken bike or something like this, to keep them attracted on issues of technology.
I agree. It's all keeping them interested in how things are made, the things that they like to consume. You better know how they're made, and that could end up being a wonderful career for you. But I always say it's just been a huge marketing problem because we don't talk about it enough. And I think, no, I'm sorry, we talk about it too much. We don't do enough. That's what ends up happening. I hear you. Well, thank you so much for what you do. I will get this out. We'll promote this. I think it's a great tool. Maybe if you're ever in the States or I'm ever out in Germany, we can kind of hook up, whether it's at a trade show, I come for a visit. If you're ever in the States, let me know. I want to thank you for your time today and for everything you're doing.
Yes, it was a pleasure talking to you, Christina. And yeah. See you soon.
See you soon. All right. For everybody out there, for everything mold making, visit moldmakingtechnology.com. Stay safe and healthy. And more importantly, stay informed and stay inspired.